Welcome to Create More Intimacy, a podcast for men. I'm Elisa Stoddard, and I help successful men stop chasing sex and start building real connection so they finally feel close, connected, and wanted again. There is a specific moment most men in disconnected marriages know well, even if they have never quite named it. She says something. Maybe it's about the way you respond to her. Maybe it's about something you forgot, something you said, something she has brought up before. It does not matter what it is exactly, because the content almost never lands. What lands is the feeling that comes with it, a tightening in the chest, a quick heat behind the eyes, a voice inside that says, "That is not fair," or "That is not at all how it happened," or "I cannot believe we are doing this again." And before you have even fully registered what she said, you are already somewhere else. You're building a case. You are finding the counter-argument. You are locating exactly where she is wrong, or where her timing is off, or where she could have said it differently. And for a moment, that feels like clarity to you, like you are simply correcting the record. What it actually is a wall going fast, automatic, and completely invisible to you while it's happening. Some men go cold after that. They shut down. They give short answers. They leave the room and call it giving her space. Some men come out swinging. They redirect, they deflect, they point to everything they have done right. Some men apologize quickly to just make it stop without actually hearing a word she said. The behavior looks different depending on the man, but underneath it, the same thing is happening. He cannot receive what she is trying to give him. Welcome to episode 62, Why Her Feedback Shuts You Down. The first thing that happens when feedback lands is usually not shame. It's not sadness either. It's not even defensiveness. Quite. Not exactly. The first thing that happens is justification. He was just tired. He had a hard week. She doesn't know the full story. She's not being fair. She always brings this up at the worst time. He has actually improved, and she never acknowledges it. This happens fast, faster than a conscious thought, and it feels reasonable to you. It feels like you're defending yourself, because in some ways that's exactly what it is. But here's what justification actually signals in this context. It signals that feedback has been understood as an attack rather than simply information. The moment he starts building a case, he has already decided that she's prosecuting him, and he is the one on trial. The only question left now is how to win. This matters because a man who is busy defending himself cannot hear anything. He is not listening to what she's saying. He is scanning for weaknesses in her argument. He's preparing his rebuttal. He is tracking the unfairness of the moment. He's doing everything except taking in what she is actually trying to tell him. And she can feel that. Not because she's particularly perceptive in that moment or particularly patient. She can feel it because she has watched this happen dozens of times. She knows the signs, the slight stiffening, the way his eyes go somewhere else, the quality of silence before he responds. She knows he's not there anymore. What is worth sitting with here is not whether your justifications are accurate. Some of them probably are. Maybe the timing was bad. Maybe she didn't say it in the most helpful way. Maybe there is real context missing. That may all be true. But none of that is actually the point. The point is that something in you reached for the justification before you ever gave the feedback a fair hearing. That reflex, not the content of the justification, is what is keeping you stuck. Men often tell me they do not understand why their wife's feedback feels so destabilizing. These are not fragile men. They receive critical feedback at work. They handle hard conversations in professional settings. They navigate difficult clients, demanding bosses, and high-pressure situations. They are capable. So why does it feel so different when it comes from her? Because at work, feedback is about performance. It's about a task, a result, a behavior in a defined context. It does not touch anything underneath. You can hear it and assess it and adjust and move on. Your worth as a person is not on the table in these settings. What she is saying, even when it sounds like a complaint about something specific, almost always touches something deeper. When she says you never really listen to her, she is not filing a report about your listening habits. She is telling you that she does not feel known by you. When she says she feels like she's handling everything alone, she is not giving you a task audit. She is telling you she feels unseen in the marriage. When she brings up the same thing for what feels like the umpteenth time, she is not being repetitive simply out of spite. She is telling you that the first bazillion times she did not feel heard. The content is almost never just the content. Underneath almost every piece of feedback she gives you is a relational message, a bid for connection, a statement about what it has felt like to be in this marriage, a very direct communication about what is missing. And here's where most men make the critical error. They respond to surface content while completely missing the relational message. They defend the specific behavior she named, while the actual communication she was trying to make goes completely unaddressed. She walks away feeling more alone than she did before she said anything. And he walks away feeling unfairly criticized and unappreciated. Both of them are right. Both of them are also completely missing each other. There is a reason her feedback feels different from feedback at work, and it's not just that she's closer to you emotionally. It is that she is one of the only people in your life who sees you at full resolution. Your colleagues see your professional self. Your friends see the version of you that shows up socially. Your kids see a dad. But she sees the unfiltered version of you. She sees how you are when you're tired, when you're irritable, and when you're not trying. She sees the habits you don't notice. She sees the gap between who you intend to be and who you actually are in the ordinary moments of a shared life. That is an uncomfortable amount of visibility for most people. But for men who have spent their lives managing how they are perceived, it can feel absolutely intolerable. When she offers feedback, she is not just commenting on a behavior. It's like she's holding up a mirror. And what makes the defensive reflex so immediate and so powerful is that somewhere underneath the justification, there is a part of you that is afraid the mirror might be accurate. The justification is not really about her being wrong. It's about not having to look. This is where shame enters. Not always in the moment, because the justification keeps that at a distance. But later, sometimes hours later, sometimes in the middle of the night, it surfaces. He replayed the conversation and he saw how he responded, and now he feels bad about it. Not necessarily because of what he said, but because of how he reacted. The wall went up, the coldness after, the way he made her feel like she had done something wrong by being honest with him. That shame is real. It matters. It is also worth noticing what it does not do. It does not go back to her. It lives inside him privately, quietly, and then gets buried under the next day's responsibilities. And she is left with the experience of having tried to reach him and hit a wall again. This is the part that is the hardest to sit with, but it's also the part that explains the most. Her feedback did not appear out of nowhere. For most of the men I work with, she has been trying to be honest for years. She raised things gently at first. She chose the moments carefully. She chose her words carefully. She tried different approaches. She softened her language. She tried being direct. She tried writing it down. She tried bringing it up and then dropping it when she saw the wall going up. And over time, she learned something. She learned that honesty with him caused something. That bringing something up means managing his reaction on top of the original problem. That there is a real chance he will get defensive, go cold, turn it back around on her, or shut it down in a way that leaves her feeling like she's the problem. She has learned that expressing a need or naming a concern puts her at risk of being made to feel unreasonable for having a need at all. So she did what any reasonable person does when behavior repeatedly produces a bad outcome. She adjusts. Some women stop bringing things up altogether. They go quiet on whole categories of conversations. They handle their internal life alone because sharing it has not felt safe. Some women find their footing elsewhere, like in friendships, at work, in their own projects and interests. It's not because they stopped caring about the marriage. It's because the marriage stopped being a place that they could rely on emotionally. They built a life that doesn't require him to show up in ways he has made absolutely clear that he cannot. That is not her being cold or distant or withholding. That is a person protecting herself from a dynamic that has not been safe for some time. And this is the part that requires real honesty. The thing you have been interpreting as her pulling away, her being less warm, her seeming self-sufficient in ways that feel like they exclude you, is in large part a direct response to what it has cost her to be honest with you. You trained her, not intentionally, not cruelly, but through consistent, repeated signals that your comfort mattered more than her honesty. She stopped, not because she gave up on you. She stopped because you made it cost too much to continue, to keep trying. There is a distinction worth drawing out here because it gets something fundamental about what has been happening. A soft place to land is someone who absorbs, who smooths things over, who manages the emotional climate so you never have to feel too uncomfortable. Someone who adjusts what she says and how she says it based on what you can handle. Someone who protects you from the full truth of her experience because the full truth has too high a price. A partner is someone who can tell you the truth, who can bring her actual experience into the room without calculating the cost first. Someone who trusts that you can handle what's real, even when what is real is uncomfortable for you. Here is the honest question underneath this episode. Which one have you actually been asking her to be? Because if your response to feedback has consistently been defensive, cold, or punishing, then what you have been communicating, regardless of your intentions, is that you need her to protect you from honesty. that your emotional comfort is more important than her ability to be real with you, that the price of her honesty is your withdrawal, and she needs to decide whether that is worth it or not. That is not partnership. That is using her as a buffer between yourself and the parts of yourself you are not ready to see. And she has been paying that price quietly over time and at significant cost to the intimacy between you. Receiving feedback is not a small skill. It is one of the most fundamental things a partner can do. It is the thing that tells her that you are safe to be honest with, that she doesn't have to manage you, that she can be a full person in this marriage and not just the version of herself that keeps the peace. When you cannot receive feedback, you do not just create a tense moment. You create a marriage where she cannot be fully herself with you. And a marriage where she cannot be fully herself is a marriage where the real intimacy will always be missing, regardless of everything else. This episode is asking you to do something specific. Now, I'm not asking you to feel bad about yourself. And I'm not asking you to add this to some imaginary running list of all of your failures. I want you to be honest. Be honest about whether you reach for justification before you ever really hear her. Be honest about whether your reaction to her feedback has made honesty feel costly to her. Be honest about whether you have been asking her to manage your emotional comfort as a condition of being in this relationship with you. And then ask yourself a harder question. Is that the man you want to be? Because growing up in a marriage does not mean becoming someone who never gets defensive. It doesn't mean you have to receive every piece of feedback with perfect equanimity. It means being able to catch yourself, to notice the wall going up and to stop it and make different choices in that moment, to stay in the room, even when what she is saying is uncomfortable, even when part of you wants to push back, to let what she's saying actually land before you decide what to do with it. It means understanding that her ability to be honest with you is not a threat. It is one of the most valuable and loving things she can offer you. It is evidence that she still believes this marriage is worth being real in. And the longer you make honesty costly, the closer you get to the day when she decides it's not. Most men, when they really sit with this, know it's true. They've always known, somewhere underneath the justification, that the wall was theirs. That the defensiveness was protection, not clarity. That the shame they felt later was accurate. The question is whether knowing it is enough to do something different the next time she tries to reach you. That is not a rhetorical question. It is the actual work. If this episode landed somewhere real for you, do not let it stay as simply an insight. Insight that does not change behavior is just a more sophisticated way of staying stuck. Next time she brings something to you, try staying. Try not building the case. Try letting what she says exist in the room for a moment before you respond. That's a small thing. It is also everything. Before I close, I want to mention a free webinar that I'm hosting on July 8th at 11:30 a.m. Pacific, 12:30 p.m. Mountain, 1:30 p.m. Central, and 2:30 p.m. Eastern. It's called What She Stopped Saying, and it goes deeper into exactly this kind of dynamic. You can register at the link below, the link in the bio, or by going to elisastoddard.com and clicking the button in the upper right-hand corner. If you want to understand more specifically what this pattern looks like in your marriage, not in general terms, but in the actual dynamics between you and your wife, that is the kind of clarity that a relationship clarity call is built for. It's 30 minutes, and we'll look at what's happening in your marriage and what's driving all that distance and what you would need to change for things to feel better, to feel different. Yes, I'm going to tell you about what it looks like to work with me. I will also make sure that you leave the call knowing something true about your marriage that you did not fully see before. Take care. We'll see you next time. Thanks for being here. If something in this episode hit home, don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. It helps more men find the support they need. And if you are ready to get help or take the next step, you'll find the link to book a free call in the show notes. I'll see you next time.